Now, if you live in Accra, you may have already experienced some consistent outages in the last few days. Well, I have. That's because the country's power producers are unable to produce enough to meet the demand. Figures obtained by JoyNews shows a generation deficit of 350 megawatts, forcing distributors to ration power in parts of Accra where demand is highest. Chief Executive of CIPDIB, Elikplim Kwabla Apetogbo, will join us shortly with details. But first, let's give you an idea of what the situation is at the moment. Available, the capacities of those plants, the current production of those plants, and the shortfall. So if you take the Sen Power, for example, the capacity is 350 megawatts. The current production is minus 0.8, which is quite scandalizing. The shortfall there is 250.8 megawatts. If you take Senate, it's 110 megawatts. That's the capacity, but they're currently producing at negative 0.19 megawatts. The shortfall is 110.19 megawatts. Car Power is giving us the capacity is 470. It's 470 megawatts. That's the capacity. But the current production is 16.04 megawatts. So the shortfall there is 453.96 megawatt. Again, very scary. Let's talk about Ameri. Ameri's capacity is 250 megawatts. At the moment, the current production is 195.32 megawatts. The shortfall there is 54.68 megawatts. AXA has a capacity of 260 megawatts. Current production 45.60. Shortfall 214. TICO 340 capacity is 340 megawatts. The current production is 158.04 megawatts, and the shortfall there again 181.96. Asogli is supposed to produce 370 megawatt. It's producing a capacity which is 370 megawatts. So in that case, there is no shortfall at all. Bui has a capacity of 400 megawatts. Current production is 3.2. Now check the difference. 400 megawatts capacity, and it is doing working at 3.2 megawatts. So the shortfall is huge. 396 megawatt. Akosombo has 1,020 megawatt. Current production is 500 megawatt. That's less than half of it, almost half if you like. The shortfall there is 520. This is for our hydro power production plants. But when it comes to solar production plant, we're looking at BNC Solar. That has a capacity of 20, no current production, of course, so then there's no shortfall. VRA Navrongo 2.5 capacity, current production nil, shortfall nil. So it certainly tells you the biggest production for Car Power, which is supposed to do 470, is doing 16 at a shortfall of 453. Compare that to Akonsombo, which is doing a capacity shortfall of 520, and then add that to Bui, which is doing a shortfall of 396. There is a lot of shortfalls in the system, which is why you're experiencing that shortfall or that outage in your neighborhood. I have over the weekend experienced quite a number of the lights out. Well, CEO of the power producers, Elikplim Kwabla Apetogbo, explained on the Super Morning Show that none of these members have received payment for power supply to ECG since the Power Distribution Services, as PDS, took over in March this year. He says this is affecting their operations, and unless an agreement to pay a $43 million each week is done, they cannot continue to work.
The IPPs contribute well over 50% of the total generation in the market reliably. And before PDS came, on weekly basis, ECG share whatever revenue that they have collected out of their sales to consumers with the power generators. But as we speak, we do not receive anything weekly, neither are we receiving anything monthly based on our 3 period bargain. So it's actually drying the operations of the IPPs. Most of our members have individually written to ECG that they have originally signed PPAs with, but no feedback. We don't care what arrangement you have with PDS. All we want is our money. We have given out ultimatum that within 7 or 8 days, government should be able to pressurize PDS or ECG to release money. That is the way to go. That not with any bad motive, but just the fact that they do not have any money to procure fuel again.
But the PDS says it has no payment agreement with the IPP. Director of Communication William Boateng insists the distribution service has honored all obligations under the concession agreement. It's also insisting that the PDS must deal with the ECG.
We don't have any agreement with the IPPs. We have an agreement with the ECG. And so if there's any challenge, I think the Apeto cannot blame us for now.
So since March, have you been paying ECG?
Under the concessional agreement, so far, we have honored all our obligations.
Well, how are you paying for the power that you are receiving to distribute to our homes?
What I know is that we are following through the concessional agreement. Probably going forward, we need to sit with all the parties, and then the issue is resolved.
Mr. William Boateng there speaks for the ECG.